What if someone has been telling you they like you every single day, and you've been completely missing it? Not with words. Words are easy to fake, easy to withhold, easy to overthink. With their body, their behavior, the small, involuntary things they do when you're around, things they couldn't script even if they tried. Here's the uncomfortable truth. Most of us are so focused on what people say that we've gone completely blind to what they do. We wait for the confession, the text, the declaration. Meanwhile, the answer has been sitting right in front of us, written in a language older than words. Behavioral psychology calls these non-conscious affiliation cues, automatic signals the brain produces when it's drawn to someone. And they are shockingly consistent across cultures, ages, and personalities. You just have to know what you're looking at. Here are 5 of them. Before we get to the signs, you need to understand why they exist. The human brain is fundamentally a social organ. For most of our evolutionary history, knowing who was safe, who was threatening, and who was allied with you was a matter of survival. So the brain developed a sophisticated system for broadcasting and detecting social interest, almost entirely below conscious awareness. Neuroscientist Antonio Damasio's research on somatic markers shows that the body registers emotional responses before the conscious mind catches up. You feel drawn to someone before you decide you like them, and that feeling expresses itself physically, immediately, automatically, and honestly. Which means the body is almost always a more reliable signal than the words. The 5 signs you're about to hear aren't things people choose to do, they're things people can't help doing. Watch closely the next time you're in conversation with someone. If they like you, their body will begin to unconsciously copy yours. You cross your arms, they shift. You slow your speech, they slow theirs. You lean in, they lean in. Psychologists call this behavioral mirroring, and it's driven by the brain's mirror neuron system, the same neural architecture responsible for empathy. When we are drawn to someone, we unconsciously synchronize with them. It is the body's way of saying, "I am with you, I am on your side." In the modern world, this extends beyond physical space. Notice if someone adopts your phrases, your humor, your cadence in messages. That's mirroring, translated to text. If someone is mirroring you, they are not doing it on purpose. That is precisely what makes it meaningful. They bring up the offhand comment you made 3 weeks ago. They remember how you take your coffee. They ask about the thing you mentioned once, briefly, and never expected anyone to retain. This is not coincidence. This is selective attention. The brain naturally encodes and retains information it assigns emotional value to. We remember what we care about. We forget what we don't. In a world of relentless information overload, where the average person processes the equivalent of 174 newspapers of data per day, the things your brain chooses to hold on to are a direct map of what matters to you. If someone remembers the small things about you, you are one of those things. It doesn't have to be grand. It rarely is. A meme that made them think of you. A question they technically could have Googled. A check-in with no obvious reason. A tagged post. A forwarded article. Behavioral psychologists describe this as proximity seeking, the drive to close physical or social distance with someone we're attached to. It's rooted in attachment theory, first mapped by John Bowlby, and it operates at every stage of human connection, from infant to adult. The modern world has given us 1,000 low-friction ways to seek proximity without admitting we're doing it. Every no reason message has a reason. This one surprises people. We associate nervousness with discomfort, but the physiological signature of anxiety and the physiological signature of excitement are nearly identical. Elevated heart rate, heightened alertness, self-consciousness about how you're coming across. Psychologist Aron's famous bridge study demonstrated that high arousal states are easily misattributed to attraction. But the reverse is also true. Genuine attraction produces arousal that gets expressed as subtle nervousness. Watch for slightly faster speech, self-grooming gestures, touching their hair, adjusting their clothes, laughing a fraction too hard, asking if what they said was weird. These are not signs of awkwardness. They are signs that you matter enough to make them want to get this right. Not just their eyes, their torso, their feet, their entire physical orientation. Nonverbal communication researchers like Albert Mehrabian established that body orientation is one of the most reliable indicators of genuine interest. We angle ourselves toward the things and people we are drawn to, unconsciously, automatically, consistently. In a group conversation, notice whose body points toward you, even when someone else is speaking. In a meeting, notice who orients toward you when making a key point. The feet especially. Feet are honest. They point where the mind wants to go. A person who likes you will arrange their entire body around you without ever making the decision to do so. Here is the cost of not knowing this. When we miss these signals, we don't just miss the connection. We construct a false narrative. We decide we are not well liked, not interesting, not the kind of person people gravitate toward. And that narrative, repeated often enough, becomes identity. Research on rejection sensitivity shows that people who chronically misread neutral or positive social cues as indifference become less likely to invest in relationships, less likely to express warmth, and more likely to withdraw preemptively, creating the very isolation they feared. The signals were there. The story we told ourselves simply made them invisible. The rewire here is not a technique. It is a perceptual shift. First, shift from auditory to behavioral observation. In your next meaningful conversation, spend less attention on the words and more on the body, posture, orientation, the pace of their breath. This is a trainable skill, and it changes how you read every room. Second, start logging the small things people do, not the grand gestures. Grand gestures are rare and can be performed. Small, consistent behaviors, the ones we've just discussed, are far harder to fake and far more revealing. Third, challenge the narrative of indifference. When you catch yourself concluding that someone doesn't like you, ask, am I reading their behavior, or am I reading my own insecurity? These produce identical feelings from the inside. Only honest examination separates them. You have been in rooms full of people who liked you more than you knew. You may be in one right now. Connection is not always declared. Most of the time, it is simply demonstrated, quietly, repeatedly, in the small behaviors that the conscious mind never gets around to scripting. The question isn't whether people like you. The question is whether you've been paying attention to the right language. Start watching differently. You might be surprised by what was always there. If this shifted something for you, our video on the psychology of why we assume the worst about how others see us might be the most important thing you watch today. It's right here. And if you want to keep exploring the hidden architecture of human behavior, subscribe. We go this deep every week